to explore if there are significant relationship between the degree of circularity from one side and the risk exposure on the other side.
Your research is focused on the relationship between circular economy and finance. Please, can you briefly share an overview of your work in this field?
Yes, Emily. First of all, thanks for your invitation. It's a pleasure to be here today. And let me share with you a few insights about our research activity. Since 2016, Bocconi University, and in particular the Green Research Center, has been working on the topic of the relationship between circular economy and finance, considering circular economy as a way, as a theme to apply the broader topic related to sustainability. And more in details, we focus on four main fields of research, and the fields are related, the first to the topic of information disclosure, of course, non-financial information disclosure. The second is related to the metrics and the KPIs related to circular economy that can be applied in the field of finance, so with characteristics related to economic measures as well as materiality in terms of relevance inside the different industries. The third field is related to the opportunities that circular economy can offer to the different industries. I mean, both companies and financial actors. And the last is related to the transformation inside the different industries that are necessary in order to catch these opportunities. Considering the topic of this meeting, I mean derisking and performance in finance, we can refer to the field of opportunities, and in particular opportunities offered to the financial services industry.
So I wanted to dig a bit more into that derisking effect that you just talked about. Can you explain what this means in practice?
Yes, with derisking, we refer to, first of all, financial risk. So I mean the risk related to securities, and in particular to the ability of a transition to circular economy to generate a positive impact in terms of reduction of risk exposure for the securities. Let me open a window on the different risk measures that we considered in our research. We considered the risk measure related to both debt finance, I mean credit risk, and equity finance, I mean volatility of shares of securities, both standalone and inside a fully diversified portfolio. So we have different ways to measure the risk in financial terms. And what is interesting is to explore if there are significant relationship between the degree of circularity from one side and the risk exposure on the other side. More in details, we explored this topic considering these relations. Our thesis was that, as I said before, higher is the degree of circularity of a company, of an issuer, and lower is its level of risk. And the first field that we developed was related to a sample of 222 European companies companies are focused on industries which are normally resource consumer and anyway significantly exposed to different externalities. Let me give you some example. A lot of manufacturing industries, as well as construction and energy. And we found, for example, in the case of debt finance, that there is a negative and significant relationship between the degree of circularity and the risk of default.
So the higher the circularity of a company, the lower its risk of defaulting on its debt. And I get that. I just wanted to also pick up on securities. You were talking about the derisking effect on different securities. And there we're talking about both debt securities, so that might be bonds issued by a company, but also equity securities, such shares of a company. So I wanted to just briefly touch upon the equity side, because we've now talked about debt. Do we see this same effect when we're looking at shares of a company?
Yes, I confirm you. We found the same effect considering a proper measure of risk in case of shares of equity capital. And perhaps what can be interesting to discuss is about the relationship between this, the risking effect, and the performance of the share, for example, if we consider equity capital. Because the risking is a clear effect and can be positive for some categories of players. Let me consider the case of commercial banks, which are normally with a low risk appetite, or let me consider authorities. Authorities have a goal to push the stability of the financial system, so lower is the level of risk suffered by financial actors, and higher will be the stability of the financial system. But we have other actors inside the industry. Let me consider asset managers, for example, that pursue not the risking as a standalone, but they pursue the optimization, the maximization of the combination between the risk and the return. So we explore also this field. Considering the same sample, I refer to the same sample that I have just introduced, and we used risk-adjusted performance measures. If you want, we can open a window on the measure that we used, but in case, ask me. We consider these measures, and also in this case, we found a positive, in this case, and statistically significant relationship between the degree of circularity and the risk-adjusted performance. I mean, higher the degree of circularity of a company, and higher is the excess return for unit of risk offered by the share of the company. So also in this case, we found a positive relation, and we demonstrate that the circular economy can offer an opportunity to, in this specific case, equity investors.